Hi, everyone. My name is Drew Becker, the CEO of the San Francisco Parks Alliance. Happy you all could join us today. This year, the San Francisco Parks Alliance celebrates 50 years of improving public spaces. In that time, we've learned that the best ideas come from those passionate neighbors with a collective vision and love for their city. Today, the values of our parks and public spaces has never been more clear. As we watch the world shut down and the country become increasingly divided, our parks served in stark contrast. In 2020, park use reached an all-time high, as many were reminded of the reasons why San Francisco Parks Alliance does the work that we do. Parks create and foster community. When a park is created or a street is slowed down, communities grow stronger as neighbors come together to eat, play, socialize, and local businesses benefit with this increased activity. Parks are essential to our physical and mental health. In urban settings, parks are one of the few lifelines to the natural world. They nurture and strengthen well-being by serving as a safe space to exercise, get together, and to find peace. Not all parks are created equal. Access to a park does not always mean that everyone feels welcome to a space that serves them well. Neighborhoods with a sense of community and a sense of ownership and a connection to their local parks have a much greater opportunity to thrive than those that do not. In 2021, we're evaluating the nature and impact of our work. As the needs of our city's public spaces have evolved, so has our organization. In the years leading up to our 50th anniversary, our focus and programming have expanded beyond parks to also include public spaces. In effect, our reach and impact have grown, and our new logo and brand introduced during this milestone aspired to reflect this evolution. Last year, we celebrated how lucky we were to benefit from the leadership that built San Francisco's incredible park system. Great parks cannot exist without great people, and we're grateful that you are one of them. Thank you for investing in your city when San Francisco's needed their parks most. And speaking of investing, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors and partners that make this summit and our work possible. Cole Hardware, the Community Challenge Grant, Office of the Mayor, the Board of Supervisors, the Recreation and Parks Department, San Francisco Port, Department of Public Works, Office of Workforce and Economic Development, Office of Planning, Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, SFMTA, the City and County of San Francisco Real Estate Division, SF Environment, Civic Center, and many others. It is now my pleasure to introduce our board chair, Liz Farrell. Liz is a steadfast volunteer that parks, playgrounds, and open space has been at the forefront of her family's life, and her focus is making them better for all families that live in San Francisco. I cannot thank Liz more for all the volunteer hours that she puts in on helping make the San Francisco Parks Alliance what it is today. Liz?
Thank you, Drew. On behalf of the San Francisco Parks Alliance Board, I want to thank you all and welcome you for being here. And thank you for the work that you do to make our city a better place to live, work, and play. I'd also like to thank the staff at the Parks Alliance whose hard work makes today possible, especially to Drew and his leadership. I am eternally grateful for that, especially over this past year. Thank you also to our board, many of who are attending the summit today. I am very grateful and blessed to work with such a hardworking, committed volunteer board from all over the city. Our board and staff have spent the last several months working together on a new strategic plan. We are excited about the future of San Francisco Parks Alliance and energized by all that we hope to accomplish. The greatest silver lining that we've seen in this past year is the newfound or rekindled love for our parks and public spaces. They have been places to be active, to build community, and have helped lessen the stress and anxiety of living and existing during the pandemic. We know now more than ever how important the work is that we are doing to make sure that every San Franciscan has access to safe and welcoming parks and public spaces. We have an exciting afternoon of speakers, so thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the program. Drew?
Thanks, Liz. And thanks to you and the board for all of your work that you all do every day in support of San Francisco Parks, and all of us at the Parks Alliance. It is now my pleasure to introduce really someone that probably needs no introduction. She's a steadfast park supporter. She's one that has ushered in many cool changes, even under this whole COVID pandemic that we've been going through, such as shared spaces, slow streets. She's an avid supporter of parks and playgrounds. And she grew up in the parks in San Francisco. And actually, when you hear her talk all the time, she usually talks about how really the parks and recreation centers really molded her life. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mayor London Breed.
Hi, I'm San Francisco Mayor London Breed. I am so excited to welcome you to the Parks Alliance Public Space Summit. While this past year has been challenging, I have enjoyed seeing our city's outdoor public spaces come to life. It brings me so much joy to walk along our slow streets, enjoy a great meal in one of our many shared spaces for dining, and see people and families enjoying time in our world-class parks. I am thrilled that we are working to make sure some of these spaces are permanent because of how successful they have been. They have showed us that when we come together to create public spaces that are inclusive, equitable, and accessible, we create stronger and more resilient communities. And we provide hope and joy during difficult times. Thank you to many of the volunteers and the Parks Alliance for creating and maintaining our city's incredible parks and public spaces for the past 50 years.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. And as you can tell, she is really, really focused on bringing back San Francisco and reopening it the right way, with the focus on parks and public space, and making San Francisco really even a greater city than it is today. Another person that has focused basically the last decade of his life of making San Francisco a much better place is the general manager of the Rec and Park Department, Phil Ginsburg. Phil has been nonstop advocate for parks and public space in San Francisco and across the country, serving on the City Parks Alliance boards, among other things, throughout the country. He is just the biggest advocate for parks and open space that you can get. He loves everything about parks and open space. He's an avid runner. He's an avid, anything you want to do in parks, he does. He is the quintessential general manager that you want to have run your parks. And under his leadership, San Francisco parks have become the envy of the country, if not the world. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, a friend of the San Francisco Parks Alliance, a friend to all of yours, hopefully, General Manager Phil Ginsburg.
Thank you, Drew. That's such a kind introduction. Happy 50th anniversary, San Francisco Parks Alliance. It's just a pleasure to be here. I am so grateful for all of your support during really what has been an extraordinary year. As Liz and Drew and our mayor have already alluded, this year challenged us like no other. The health emergency transformed many of our public spaces. Parks became COVID testing sites and outdoor food banks. Recreation centers became emergency childcare centers for first responder parents, and later community hubs where kids could get help with distance learning while meeting their social and emotional needs. The pandemic also transformed the way people view parks. During the shelter-at-home order, parks provided a measure of sanity. Being in the fresh air, like I am now, was a respite for our mental and physical health. During the racial reckoning of this past summer, plazas and other public spaces were where people exercised their right to protest. As a result, parks are no longer seen as a luxury or an amenity, but they are an essential part of our city's infrastructure. They're not just nice to haves. Parks are must-haves. Not even a pandemic could stop our work with the San Francisco Parks Alliance. With your help, we continue to improve our parks in ways that directly benefit all San Franciscans. Just last week, we unveiled a $5.2 million renovation of George Christopher Playground in Glen Park, woo woo, complete with a new nature exploration area. In 2020, we reopened 6 more improved playgrounds all over San Francisco with your help. On March 3rd, the new Goldman Tennis Center opened in Golden Gate Park after a $27 million renovation. San Francisco now has the best public tennis center in the country, and the Parks Alliance helped deliver it. The Parks Alliance has been our partner in Golden Gate Park's 150th birthday and quickly adapted when COVID hit, providing an online concert series, helping us with over 150 park improvements, public art installations, a new welcomes center, entwined, wasn't that awesome? 5 new bison, and yes, an observation wheel, which is spinning. And work continued out at India Basin, arguably the most important park project in modern San Francisco history. Together with you, we're working to transform 1.7 miles of dilapidated and inaccessible waterfront into a place of health, resilience, culture, spatial justice, and economic opportunity. Our equitable development planning efforts are known around the country as an emerging best practice and model for 21st century park improvements. Great parks need people willing to volunteer, advocate, and invest in them. The history of San Francisco's parks is entwined with a history of community passion, advocacy, vision, and giving. In 1850, 2 decades before San Francisco even had a park system, John Geary planted the seeds of giving by donating 2 plots of land to our future park system. One would become Washington Square, the other, Union Square. 170 years later, America's best park system has been nurtured by visionary acts of civic kindness and responsibility thousands of times over. For the last 50 years, this organization has helped inspire our park system by helping to raise money and awareness for parks and programs that improve lives. During my tenure as general manager, the Parks Alliance has helped nurture more than $150 million in philanthropy through its work with all of you and its creative sponsorship of volunteer activities, community building, park renovations, and civic events. We are grateful, and our city owes a debt of gratitude to SFPA's committed board members and staff, and certainly to all of you, representing each and every one of the 100 community groups San Francisco Parks Alliance supports. Thank you, Liz Farrell. Thank you, Drew Becker. Thank you, San Francisco Parks Alliance. All right, in case you haven't had your fill of Phil, I'd like to now introduce you to another Phil, Phil Winn, the Parks Alliance's Director of Parks and Place. Take it away, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. And I'll keep the second syllable on my name so you can differentiate us. So this is Philip Winn, Director of Parks and Place at the San Francisco Parks Alliance. Thanks so much for the kind introduction, Phil. I joined our organization almost exactly a year ago, coming from Project for Public Spaces in New York City. And I've had the honor of working with communities around the country and the world on creating public spaces that are platforms for community expression and connection. I'm really so thrilled to have the opportunity to work in a city that has such a rich tradition of community-based stewardship of public space. As both Drew and Phil mentioned, we at the Parks Alliance really understand that strengthening the connections between people and places is the way that we can get to create a network of public space that works really well for everyone. We're rightly proud here in San Francisco to be the first city in the US to meet the Trust for Public Lands goal of having every resident within a 10-minute walk of a park, but we know that proximity is not enough. In order to have public spaces where every citizen feels truly welcome, we need to make sure that all communities have a voice in the life of our public spaces. And that's why I'm so thrilled to introduce David Miles Jr. as our keynote speaker today in conversation with Heather Knight. David truly embodies the soulful spirit of this city, and he's a shining example of how dedicated community member can help to steer our public spaces to becoming more active, more welcoming, more equitable, and most importantly, more fun. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to our featured keynote speaker, David Miles Jr., the godfather of skate and the founder of Skate in Place in Golden Gate Park, in conversation with Heather Knight. Take it away, guys.
Hey, David, how are you?
I am doing fine. How you doing?
You have a much cooler virtual background than I do.
Well, I'm actually at the church. You know, since we went into the yellow tier, I get to open up tonight. So
that's awesome.
I'm so excited.
I'm going to try to come then. I'll bring my kids. Not tonight,
Absolutely.
but awesome. So I wondered if you could describe where you grew up and what brought you to San Francisco initially.
I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised. And I basically came to San Francisco because my mom had moved here, and she was, you know, basically screaming the praises of San Francisco, telling me how, you know, beautiful it was, how you had opportunities here and all. So I jumped up on a one-way bus ticket, and the third day I was in San Francisco, you know, just looking for things to do like everyone else, I saw the Muni bus say Golden Gate Park. And so I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. Let's go out there. And I've been there ever since. I fell in love with the park from the very first moment that I ever entered. And it's led to a lifetime of fantastic times, roller skating, accomplishments. It's kind of a fairy tale in a way, but sometimes that stuff happens. And it happened to me when I came to San Francisco.
Can you describe when you got off that bus and saw Golden Gate Park for the first time? Like, what did you see and how did you feel?
Well, you know, in Kansas City, I used to go to the park all the time, you know, just, you know, doing what people do in the park. So as I got off of the 5 Fulton, right at 4th Avenue and Fulton, I walk over to the pathway, and it goes up by the Conservatory of Flowers. And it looked nice. You know, it was a beautiful day, about 70 degrees. I remember it like yesterday. And I saw a lot of people that were like laying on the ground, sunbathing and stuff like that. But I don't do that very much. So, but I thought, hey, you know, let's check it out. Let's lay down on the grass and see what happens. And so I laid down on the grass, so 5, 4, 3, okay, that's enough. And then when I got up, I saw 4 people go by on roller skates. And I was like, wow, they let you roller skate out here? I mean, I thought that was just fantastic. So I stopped them and asked them about it. And they told me that the park was closed to car traffic on Sundays and that thousands of skaters came out. And I was, you know, I went out, got me a pair of roller skates. I came out that Sunday, and, you know, I say this, but it's really true. It's like the Wizard of Oz. When the house is spinning in black and white and all of that, and the tornado, and then it lands on Oz. And then Dorothy gets up and opens the door, and it's all in living color. People are singing and dancing, and like, wow, this is really cool. So I came the next Sunday. I started coming every day. Met a group of people. I didn't know anybody in San Francisco at the time, so I mean, people were basically forming groups of mini families with the relationships that you have with people. We come to the park each and every day. We would meet at the band shell on the left side of the flagpole, and we would skate, and we would practice, and we would be happy, and it was great. But on Sundays, I mean, you have to imagine that you're talking 25,000 people were counted in August in 1979 roller skating in the park. That's how big it was. You have a huge roller skating thing going on right now. Nowhere near what it was when I first stepped into Golden Gate Park. And so, you know, as I keep coming out more and more, it became a problem for a lot of people. You know, you have thousands of people coming to the park. They got nowhere to use the bathroom. They have nowhere to park their cars. There's no rules. It was almost like the Wild Wild West. And so some people from the Rec and Park came out and they were asking us to join this thing called the Roller Patrol. And the story was, if we couldn't control the roller skaters that are in the park, then we're gonna have to ban skating in the park. Of course, I can't let that happen. You know, I've got a life now, and you can't take this away. And me and my friends were the people that the folks from the institutions, the Gem Museum, the California Arts and Sciences, the Tea Garden, all of those people would see us skating at the band show all the time. And they didn't like it. You know, some people don't like it when you're smiling and walking down the street. But anyway, they were trying to kick us out of the park. And we ended up being the volunteers on the skate patrol that get to go through all these places where they're trying to kick us out. And in the process of doing that, you learn everything about it. You're the only person out there. At the time, the Rec and Park had only 2 park patrol with thousands of skaters, and then you have your tourists and your people and everything else. So I became the leader of the group. We got trained in first aid, CPR. We became, you know, basically advocates for the people that use the park. There was no voice for these people. We were just random people. If you can imagine everybody going everywhere, but going nowhere, but doing it on skates. That's kind of what it was like. We brought some order. We brought some safety. And we became, basically, like I said, representatives of the people that use the park all the time.
Had you been a roller skater back in Kansas City, or did you pick that up when you moved to San Francisco?
No, see, I did roller skate in Kansas City, but roller skating in Kansas City is just like, you know, you go into the movies, you go into a restaurant, you're going out, bowling or whatever. It was just a common thing. I didn't think of it as I am a skater. You know, I was actually I was the younger kid. So my sisters would go and they had to take me. My mom wouldn't let them go without me because she doesn't want me at home bothering her. So I would go with them and skate. I was kind of good. I didn't really think about it. It wasn't until I saw those people skating in Golden Gate Park that I thought, now that's something that I know how to do. And it's been my link to the city ever since. I mean, I've skated from San Francisco to LA 15 times. I've skated from LA to San Francisco. Basically, to use our skating as something positive. That's one of the things about San Francisco. People care about things. You know, I was just a regular guy. You know, I didn't really care about all this stuff. You know, I was just, you know, kind of watching from the sidelines and all and through life. But San Francisco has an effect on you. You can I don't know if everybody understands it. Maybe it's the background of the park being so wonderful, the people that are there are so positive and fun. But I've always felt that it's given me a power and energy to do things like I wouldn't do. When I first was Skate Patrol, there was a group out there called the Hunger Project, and they were trying to end world hunger. And I was like, well, that's a good thing. Skaters, we should rally behind and help these people end world hunger. We ain't got no money, but we can skate, we can draw attention, we can help and stuff like that. And that's been a huge part of my life as well. All generated from the park and how wonderful it is and how, what a lifesaver it is, really. I'm the luckiest person who's never won a lottery. I'm sitting here in a 140-year-old Catholic church in San Francisco. I've turned it into a roller skating rink of all things. And it's one of the most successful things around. San Francisco is such a wonderful place. And it all evolves around that one little speck of land, Golden Gate Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
We got to back up a sec. How long does it take to skate from San Francisco to Los Angeles?
It depends on how you do it. If you go 100 miles a day, you can do it in about 5 days. I did that once. I skated Highway 1 once. No, I don't want to do that.
On the highway?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The first time I did it, I'm from Kansas City now. This was 1980. I had been in San Francisco for under a year. I didn't even know how far LA was. But my friends, I get them excited about this kind of stuff. And they want to do it. So, I mean, we was doing the 100-mile-a-day thing. By the second day, your body is trashed. And that's what I learned from that. It's not that, you want to, skate to LA, be some hero or anything, but, you want to do something that is helping people and has a positive message and promotes skating. So the first time we did it, it was all the way 100 miles a day. After that, I started breaking the group down into teams because I want to focus on teamwork, working together to reach a common goal. We all want to do fantastic things, but we have to work together to make fantastic things happen. So I have 3 teams. Each team rotates skating every hour, but it's 24 hours. We don't stop till we get to Santa Monica. And there are some absolutely fantastic times. There are some scary times. Not everybody out there in Danuba and Visalia and all are not that keen on San Francisco guys roller skating down the street. But we never had any problems with people. We had a couple of truckers, but it's I've skated from here to Sacramento to protest a law that was going to ban roller skating throughout the state. There was a state senator, Milton Marks, who skating has been known in San Francisco, so he's heard of it, but he hadn't heard of me. But I think that he was impressed that we had the nerve to actually follow through. And he changed the wording of this law so that only individual communities, say you have a problem with skating, then you could do something to ban it, but you couldn't just ban it straight out in California. And that's one of the things that allowed us to continue skating from here to LA and do things like that, marathon events, all that.
Mm-hmm. Do you still get as excited when you go to the skating place as you did the first time? And how do you keep it fun and different?
It is always fun. You can't go there and not like it. It's like trying to go swimming and not getting wet. You just can't do that. It's magic. When you come out to the park, you have the people, you have the music, you have the beautiful landscape, you have the perfect asphalt. It's great. I love it just as much now as I did the very first time I discovered it. And it's actually even going to be made even better because skating, the interest is generating more. We're talking about how the 6th Avenue skating place is an example of what every park should have. I mean, we was talking about the tennis courts and the improvements, all the different recreational things going on in the park. Well, roller skating is part of that as well. And it's being recognized by Record Parks and everybody else, Parks Alliance. They're going to have to help me on all this stuff. And
well, now that you're their keynote speaker.
Well, hey, and that is great. Thank you guys so much. I'm so, you just don't know. I sit here. I know I might be kind of rambling on all this stuff about skating and Golden Gate Park and all, but you got to understand, I met my wife in Golden Gate Park about 3 months after I first stepped foot in there. And I got 3 kids. I got a granddaughter now that's a great skater. My whole life evolves around this, and it's not normal. They say, I don't know what normal is anyway. I define my own. I'm not much of a follower. I don't do what the other guys do. I do my thing.
I think that's pretty obvious.
Well, I get that from being here in San Francisco. Everybody says how the energy of San Francisco is going away. All the special things about San Francisco is going away. It is not. People got to find it within them. And, I found it in roller skating. And I love Golden Gate Park. Matter of fact, I've been trying to take the park to other places so that they can do the same thing. A lot of people would think that, we can't do this. They're not going to talk to us. They're not going to, it's always easy to throw little roadblocks and wonder what you want to do. But we was talking a while back about recreational redlining, some guy. And I just booked, I booked these 3 events at Hunters Point Shoreline Park. And the whole idea was to take what we take for granted here in Golden Gate Park, put it here in another park so other people can feel that same joy and happiness. And maybe they can't get to Golden Gate Park. Maybe there's a park near them that they can do it or something like that. And I got to tell you, that has been fantastic. The people come out, they got free roller skates. The place is an asphalt heaven. It's all smooth. It's nice. The weather is beautiful. And, being able to do that is like, some would think of it as work, but I think of it as fun. This is fun. it makes me feel like the things that I'm doing are really, helping people and making people realize that, we're all one. We're all part of the same, community. And whether that be Golden Gate Park, whether that be down in Embarcadero, whether that be any, Dolores Park, where I know the tennis court people don't like this, but that's a great place to skate sometimes when you're not there. We have to be able to do our thing. We have to be able to get out of the house. We have to be able to sweat a little bit and smile and dance. And, a lot of times that may not seem like something that is, that you have to like provide people, places for, something like that, but really, really important, especially now with the coronavirus, just getting, since I've opened the Church of Eight Wheels, the phone has just been ringing off the hook. You would think that people have been trapped and just escaped to something and they just got to get to the church. And I can dig it. But I think that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to readjust. A lot of people's angst are up and they need these recreational outlets. They need them really bad. So I'm preparing for it. I think, well, here I am at the church, but the church is just an extension of the park for me. And I'm really trying to make sure that we don't overdo it. The virus isn't over, and we're in a certain period right now where we all have to do some adjustments and stuff. And I'm looking forward to it all.
Yeah. The city made JFK Drive car free a little over a year ago to give space for people to roller skate and bike and walk and, just have fun and social distance. And now there's a big fight over, what happens from here as the pandemic is winding down. Why do you think this 1.5 mile stretch of pavement has always been so fought over since even before you arrived? It was, fought over decades ago.
Oh yes, that's been the biggest fight I've ever seen going through the park, including the ballot initiatives and all that. Closing JFK Drive to car traffic was the absolute best thing that could have ever happened to Golden Gate Park. People, okay, if you set the Wayback Machine to like 87, 88, 89, you couldn't approach this question of closing Golden Gate Park's traffic. The institutions in the park want the cars there. They want them come hell or high water. They don't care about anything else that has to do with anything else. They want cars in the park. There's been a series of events that has happened that has let the people be able to understand that we can exist without the cars in the park. The first one was about 15 years ago. There was a big storm that destroyed the Conservatory of Flowers. Hundreds of trees were blown down. The park was closed to cars, period, because, big giant logs laying across the street don't work. Yeah. And so during that time, people came out and they would walk through the park and they would, walk their dogs and go through these spaces without cars running them down. And they loved it. And the people who love to ride their bikes and love to skate. Now we have a playground. You've taken the asphalt and turned it into 21st century recreational space, which is also just as needed because we're not dinosaurs. We have evolved. The park, 150 years old, has evolved from what it was in the very beginning to being one, the crown jewels of San Francisco. So the closing of JFK Drive is the park living up to its mission, to let people enjoy themselves in a green silver environment without the hustles and bustles of everyday life running them down, cars running them down. And so as we now reach the yellow tier, I know that the people in the institutions are just clamoring to open the park up to cars. But that first situation got people to understand that we could get through it. This situation with COVID has put an exclamation point on that. More and more people have been able to experience it. More and more people bring their kids to the park. They ride their bikes in the park. They're jogging in the park and they're keeping their distance. They're being safe. They're being healthy. And they're realizing that you do not have to drive your car there to enjoy this park fully. As a matter of fact, I think that closing the park to car traffic is going to be a boom for all those businesses in the park because more people will come. More people will walk over to the California Arts and Science Building. They will walk over to the Young Museum. They will come out onto JFK Drive, rent a bicycle, go up this Stowe Lake. All these different things that have been happening since the park, has been happening, will be enhanced by the people that are going to come out because there's no cars. Mm-hmm. Now, we went through ballot initiatives and big fights about the underground garage. I hated that underground garage. I have still never been up into the tower in the young.
You should
But
roller skate up there.
Yeah, we had that conversation before. I'm gonna try. I have to relax, and I have to forgive because they won. Okay, they won. They got it. Cool. The thing is, though, that argument should be gone too. They have an 800 space garage right under them, and why do they need the park closed off? Maybe because they want to charge like $30, $40 to park there. See, that's the big problem now. Now it's all about the money, but they have the space. They can accommodate the people who need to drive to the park. They can, all of the things that they throw up to stop have been solved, except for one group, that's the Conservatory Flowers. They have a legitimate bad situation as being landlocked.
But they don't make near as much noise about it, from what I can tell. The conservatory doesn't seem to make nearly as much noise about it.
Okay, well then that means it's solved. Okay, let's not even discuss any issues because that was the only issue that I saw. I've been there 42 years. I love the conservatory. I love all the institutions. I'm not a person that hates them because they're not on my side. But that was the only question, and I thought that could be solved easily as well by using Conservatory Drive East and West until they could come up with a different answer. But there is really no reason not to close JFK Drive to car traffic. It's only people's ego being hurt because they feel like it's their park. You know, they feel like their plans and the things that they do that have nothing to do with the people who use the park will be interfered with. And that's not fair. That's not right. I think that what you see already is leadership from the Rec and Parks, you know, in what they've done to close it off. I mean, it had to be a lot of pressure put under them. But what they did is they granted the people of San Francisco a way to make it through the coronavirus situation. They made it so that we could survive without killing each other. You know, they gave us a place to go to enjoy ourselves and to be mentally healthy and happy. And it really needs to continue. This should be the thing that keeps JFK Drive closed forever.
Mm-hmm. What are the odds of that happening, do you think?
Well, like I said, a few years back, I would have never thought that we could be talking about this. I'd be settling for moving Saturday half-day closure up to flat spot. But I think there's a chance. I think that people want it. And you got to give the people what they want. We are the taxpayers. We pay for all this, okay? You have a $1 trillion museum. You got all this stuff over there. I'm not bothering any of that. We're not saying don't do that. But they have to give. You know, we're not asking for something that's going to cost a lot of money. It's already done. We're asking for what's in place to stay in place. That's about it. Mm-hmm. And I think if you want to make it safe for people to be there, if you want kids to have a place to go and to get healthy and to exercise and to socialize with people and to learn to get along in this world in a great, you know, environment with people from all over the world and, you know, the wonders of Golden Gate Park, and you know, keep the park closed off because that's what's happening and that's what we need. And I really don't think that the arguments to stop it are worthy of, you know, serious discussion. It is a done deal. The garage is there. That was what they said that they needed. That was the end all of all. And there it is. It's there. Let's move forward and give the people what they need. You know, give the people the park.
Supervisor Shimon Walton is one of the biggest opponents of that happening. And he said recently that making JFK Drive car-free was an example, as you mentioned before, of recreational redlining, that it's racist and segregationist. And I was wondering, as a Black man, how you respond to that.
To me, that's Twilight Zone stuff. There is no such word. You know, just because somebody come up with something catchy, hey, recreational redlining, I'm cool. No. And there's the worst part about it. It comes from a person who's never been out in the park on a Sunday. He's never been there. He's never seen it. He's never experienced it. No one's ever asked him a question about it. He just came up with this all by himself, which, you know, it's really bad for politics. It's bad for everyone that represents your people. You get elected, you go and you give these promises and these things. Oh, I'm going to make your life great. I'm going to do this and that. And you don't even go see it. You don't even know. You're just saying what you got to say so you can look intelligent, is it? But that can't be it, because that's not intelligent. It's the whole race in Golden Gate Park. I guess if you can afford to find a parking space, then you're like rich or something. You can't make logic out of this. It's like the big lie. It's like you can't. It doesn't work. I mean, unless you're just totally stupid. I don't mean to be so harsh or mean, because I want to be respectful to the supervisor. Very few Black supervisors that get to be up there. But that's not the end all either. That's not why you vote for somebody. That's not why you think that somebody's intelligent. That's not why you support people because of what color they are and because they might share something with you. You do it because you have the respect of that person. You respect the intelligence of the person that's representing you. And all I can say is, Golden Gate Park has been the example of where George Floyd, all the things going on, people protesting, even before that, years and years, you have never seen that be an issue between people in Golden Gate Park. When's the last time you heard of a racial incident going down in the park? Police had to come break up something. Never. This is not the environment that this park has. This park has an environment of inclusiveness, of providing the kind of activities to everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. You just got to get there. You have to want to. If you want to skate, you can skate. You want to fly fish, you can fly fish. You want to do whatever the activities are in Golden Gate Park. They're fun. They're accessible. They're inexpensive. The race thing just kind of like puts a damper on just a fun, exciting thing. So all I can say is, before anybody comes up and says how something is, please go there and see. I'll be there this Sunday. I'm there every Sunday. I have my own little personal little office right to the next, the roller skating area. And I would love for that supervisor or anybody that has issues with that, come out and talk to me about it. And let me see if I can show you the truth, because that's all I have to offer. The park is the greatest place where anybody can be.
Yeah. We have lots of archival photos in the Chronicle of you over the years in the skate patrol, and it's always a very diverse group of people. It seems like it's always been very racially mixed, dating back decades, and it seems like it's still that way. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I like that coalition of the willing thing. I like if I ask somebody, hey, you want to be skate patrol, or hey, you want to be with us. My rule is, if you're not a thief or a liar or, do things, that I perceive as negative or bad, then I give you a chance. Everybody gets a chance to prove who they are. It has nothing to do with their past or anything like that. When a man stand in front of a man, woman, and woman, you stand there eye to eye, you have respect between each other because you don't know each other. Now, if they do things that you don't like or don't respect, then you choose not to be around that person. And that's the freedom that everyone has when you talk about what freedom is. That is what you can easily, execute. So everybody that has been a part of the skate patrol came up and says, hey man, I want to help. And I'm like, okay, well, here you go. You ready to do this? Let's roll with it. And most of the people in the beginning of the skate patrol were in group homes. I was not aware of what group homes were until we started coming every day to the park. And then you saw a group of younger people that would come out and hang out with us. They didn't know anybody. I mean, I came out, they didn't know anybody. So we all meet and everybody's, friends, and we have a great time. This is how you join the skate patrol. It wasn't that we searched you out or all this kind of thing. And, it's just that when you're in this environment where it's fun and the people are cool, you can relax and you can belong. And it's something that I've tried to foster throughout my entire time in the park. They accepted me, so I want to always kind of keep it as it was when I first, got involved.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if you wanted to weigh in. I've noticed that San Francisco likes to think of itself as very progressive and environmentally friendly, but when you start to talk about taking people's cars away or just suggesting they maybe drive less or even just close like a mile of roadway, same issue on the Great Highway, you know, a lot of people really, really hate that idea. So it doesn't really make sense with the reputation of San Francisco.
It does make sense for San Francisco, but the thing is, you can't ignore the people when they tell you they don't like it. You can't just do it anyway. And that's how a lot of the people that would normally wouldn't even chime in on it, that's how they feel. We talk about the Great Highway. I know I used to live on 48th Avenue. I have lots of friends that live over there, and they are very upset about the permanent closure of Great Highway possibility. They feel like their whole neighborhoods are inundated with cars that would normally be there and all that. And, you know, I feel their pain. I haven't chimed in on the Great Highway because it's a great place to skate.
It's very flat.
The Great Highway for San Franciscans really used to be the place where you drag race your car. You know, they got a 2-mile stretch and you're down on one end and people drag race, and that's has always been. I think that people like the idea of slow streets. I think they like the idea of closing the parked car traffic. I just think that they feel as if it's being put upon them without their approval or input. You know, they are working hard. They are losing everything just like everybody else. They are stressed out. And now there's a big sign saying you can't drive a half block to your house because it's close to car. You have no idea what to do. The people by the beach feel like all the traffic's coming into their neighborhood. There's nothing they can do about it. They got signs up on the Great Highway. You know, I feel like this. I live right half a block from the entrance to the all the events in Golden Gate Park, the Outside Lands Festival, the all those events. And I think that when you live next to a fantastic park in a city like San Francisco, these are the things that are going to happen, you know? So I personally don't have much problems with it. I can get around, I can make adjustments. And that's the same with everybody else. We all can make adjustments. I just think that the approach has to be different. You really got to bring the people in the neighborhood into the conversation. They need to be able to at least feel as if it's their neighborhood, not. I can be straight up and tell you that they think it's just the bike people. Mm-hmm. Most of the people think that the only people that want cars closed off the traffic are bike people. And after the critical mass, you know, critical mass used to be much, much, much bigger and much, much more confrontational. And I think that that reputation has tainted the efforts of people that want to close roads to car traffic. So I think that what we have to do really is just bring these people into the conversation, let them be a part of it. And will they close off the Great Highway? I would never said they could close JFK Drive. So I think that what you're seeing is the result of the impossible, the things that happen when you least expect it from situations. You know, some of the greatest inventions ever made were accidents. Rubber, you know, we burnt it on the stove. Hey, look at that. You know, all these things kind of happen. And I think that the Great Highway is seeing that as well. And don't be mad at me. Yeah, I think they're going to close it off.
Mm-hmm. Switching gears, I have to ask you, you have a very fabulous sequin hat on. And every time I see you, you have a different top hat. And you have the wrist thing too.
Oh, yeah, I got I have the coat. I don't know if you can see that part because of the.
Oh, I can't see your coat. Where do you get all this awesome stuff?
I've been going to Burning Man for the last 20 years. And, you know, Burning Man is a lot like San Francisco. You can do anything you want, basically, within reason. I mean, you can't, you know, do everything, but you can dress a certain way. You can talk a certain way. You can have habits that maybe people aren't into, whatever. And Larry Harvey he passed away, but he's the guy that created Burning Man. And he was known for his hat. He had this like Stetson hat. It wasn't like, you know, some special hat or anything, but I got to do it my way. And so I started off with this hat I got off of eBay, and it was like a top hat. It was gold and it had stars on it, and it was cool. And once I started wearing it, people was into it. But I had a friend of mine that made hats for Bootsy Collins and George Clinton and these guys, and she made me a hat because basically just she knows I do all the skating, and she wanted to do something for me. And so she made me a hat, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. How much does this cost? And she said, well, I'm used to buying it. It would cost like $450. I'm like, what? I mean, I want another one, but I can't do that. So I started learning how to make them. And over the pandemic, I've made like 30 hats.
Wow.
I have a hat for every occasion. And the hats have a long fur coat. It's like a furry vest.
Yeah, I've seen those on you.
Yeah, that all goes back to Burning Man. You wear these, everybody wears fur and the furry leggings and all. And I loved it. I thought it was cool. So we formed a group of people called the Long Riders. If you can imagine back in the day when you had the Hells Angels being the security for the rock and roll guys, that's what my group, the Long Riders, are at Burning Man. We all wear the long coats. We all wear cool hats. We all synchronize and all. And if anybody comes to start trouble, we get the trouble out. We don't fight or hurt people. We're cool. When we tell you, hey man, leave that girl alone, you're gonna look at us and, oh, I'm sorry. And I don't know. It's kind of like I've taken my skate patrol to Burning Man. we There's a lot of personality involved and all, but it's all about having fun. You want to have a good time. And what's the trip though is a lot of kids, they come here to the church, they come to the park, and they're wearing fuzzy leggings.
Started a
and they're
trend.
telling me, D, look at my leggings. And I'm so proud. It's just, you got to have fun in the city. You don't want to do what everybody else is doing. You want to be the leader, not the follower. I like that.
Yeah. So how big is your closet?
Oh, there's the hats don't fit in the closet. I have a room for my stuff. I have this room of stuff. It's supposed to be my office, but now I had to move out of there. But I have at least 10 long furry coats. I got at least 30 hats. All of them have matching armbands, legs, everything. I mean, I've got videos on it and show people how to do it. I just made this really great black and gold one. I think that's the one. I think that's the one I wore. I love that one. I make them for other people. I make them for anybody that, my friends all want one. So I'm in a good mood. But it was the coronavirus that got me going, though. I'm sitting in the house, watching TV. It's like, And so I got into that. Also, I got into building roller rink floors. And I got a roller rink in my backyard.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll end with a question from the audience. What has been your favorite memory with the public in this skating place?
Wow. Favorite moment? I think Gavin Newsom coming out was a really good one. I think London Breed coming out and skating has to be.
That was just recently.
Yes, that because mayors don't skate. They pontificate. Well, they used to anyway. There's been so many wonderful moments at 6th Avenue. I've had national skate competitions there. I met my wife right down the street from there. I mean, there's, my kids' first steps walking was at 6th Avenue. All of them, I think, because, if you're around me, you're either going to go to the park, skate, or stay home. So none of them stay home. And so, but I got to say that day that Gavin Newsom came out to the park, that was very cool because he ended up spending $1 million repaving the area. I wish I could say that I had him do that, but it was in the mix. But I think that one of the best times ever was when London Breed came out and skated.
Mm-hmm.
She lit that place up. It was like God is skating at 6th Avenue. And you know how people are when they want to say hi or they want to take your picture, but they don't want to bother you.
Mm-hmm.
That went on for about 15 minutes or so. But after that, she was like one of us. And she was, people were like, hey, you should skate like this. And then she would do it. And somebody would say, well, hey, you want to learn this step? And she was doing the steps and I'm supposed to be, she has security and all that. And I'm supposed to be making sure everything's cool. I'm like, she's running this place. that was probably one of the best of all time.
Awesome. Well, it was really fun to see you. Love the hat. Thanks for chatting.
Thank you very much. It lights up. I don't know if I can show you this. This is the
oh wow,
the coat that goes with it.
Oh my god.
And it's very long.
That's amazing.
And we will be opening up. I just want to say about open spaces. I am building a roller rink right now for the people in Oakland called Liberation Park. And it was like an empty lot. And, when I went by there to check it out one time, I asked the guy that was, he was in the neighborhood. I just want to get see how the neighborhood feels about this. And he says, man, they used to just find bodies over there all the time. What you talking about? Roller rink? Okay. So I got it all set up. We're going to build them a mobile roller rink, and we've already started everything. And it's all because people are looking at spaces as more than just, lots or whatever. There are now opportunities to do recreation, to make parks, and to bring the same kind of thing we get to take for granted park to other places. And so, this is something that I started developing as we were in the pandemic, because I felt that the yellow chair was never coming. We're going to have to change our model. We're going to skate outside. But that was going on. The African American Center over here on Hayes, on Fulton, they're building a roller rink as well. Nice. And I'm working with all these different communities around the country to get them to look at San Francisco and look at the skating place, what we're doing, and to copy that and to put skating in the mix, just like you have all the other different things that you provide your people, and it'll be great.
Mm-hmm. Actually, there's a couple more questions coming in.
Sure.
What is the key to keeping the energy up and not burning out as a volunteer on a public space project?
You need to love the reason you got in. You need to stick to that feeling that made you want to volunteer in the first place, because the want to do is great. The want to be involved is great, but it is work. It is not meant to be the easiest thing. If it was, you wouldn't need volunteers. Mm-hmm. You got to be into the organization that you work for, the reason that they're doing what they're doing. It's got to mean something to you. Because for me, it's roller skating. Roller skating is my thing. And I get all kinds of problems. It's easy to say no to roller skating. Can we roller skate here? No, you're going to sue me. No, you're going to get hurt. No, people are crazy. But just, like a lot of things, you got to take the bad with the good, but you got to be dedicated in the first place, and you should never get burnt out. Mm-hmm. There are reasons that can happen dealing with people, but the cause that got you involved should be burning in your heart like a big, big fire.
Well said. What advice do you have for community groups trying to bring their vision to life?
First, you have to have a very clear, achievable vision. You can't say, I want to rule the world. You have to have a vision that's pointed, that's sharp, and that you believe in. But there are no guarantees. You can do all the greatest things and do it all right and have all the help and all that. It's still not work. Have faith in what you're doing and just follow through. That's the only thing you can really do.
Yeah. Another person asked, what was the best year for experiencing Golden Gate Park in your lifetime?
I would say the 1979, my very first year. I had never heard of the Hare Krishnas before. Here comes August, and there's 20,000 roller skaters. I look down the street, and there's these wagons, and these people. Ching, 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 what? There were so many things that happened then. It was such a fresh, exciting movie, It's like, you never know what the next chapter is going to be. It was 1979, you had You had the Playboy Mansion had a big roller disco party. You know, you had.
Did you go there?
Well, I did not go, but I saw it. It was on channel. It was on one of those ABC midnight special or something that they showed it. And you know, roller skating. It was just 1979 was the absolute best. Now all the other things, as you know, come skating, the inlines come and go, and other things come and go. No, and even today, the TikTok version, none of them compare to that era. You have to remember, you had the hippies, right? Then you had the yuppies, and you know, when the hippie people had left, Golden Gate Park was still close to car traffic. You know, it actually happened in '67 in the hippie era. But this, as it goes on, the people change and things change, but that energy of it, it's still always the same. I just got to the point where I didn't really care about how many people were there. I'm coming in the rain. We skating in the rain. Yeah, how are we going to do it? We're going to practice sliding. That's it. You got to be a maniac to be doing that kind of stuff. But it was normal. You know, it was normal. But I have to say 1979, 1980, 1981, the absolute golden era of roller skating.
Awesome. Well, it's always fun to talk to you. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, I am so welcome, and thanks, people. I hope that I did right. This some people call this work, right? Look, this is my favorite subject in the whole world. I appreciate you, Heather.
Great. Nice to see you. Have a good weekend.
Okay. What do I do?
Hi, Heather. Hi, David. Thank you so much for joining us today at the Public Space Summit. We really appreciate it. David, I will have to say in 1979, 80, and 81, that I was actually on the Skate World speed skating team in my hometown in Dayton, Ohio, back in the day. So love you, love skating, and thank you for the joy you bring to thousands of people every day. Heather, thank you for all of the joy and information you bring to thousands of people every day on important issues. We really appreciate the work that you both do. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of the Public Space Summit. Thank you for helping these community groups and our Friends Up groups and everyone in San Francisco to build a better San Francisco, one public space at a time. So thank you all for being around, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to turn it over now to Sarah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Drew. Thanks everyone for coming out today for the Public Space Summit. A couple of reminders for everyone.